starting through the medicine, Regina's rabbit hole, to answer the question, how do numbers help us as a community right now?
Okay.
Well, the missing information, for one thing. Consciousness changes things. To be aware of things changes things. And to know that numbers had another dimension to them other than what I was learning in school would have meant a big difference to me, because we were taught math and numbers as a dead thing, a dead language. But
how so?
Because when I was learning math in school, you learn that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but you don't learn that these numbers have a frequency and vibration, and that they're like symbols, and that they unfold into frequencies. And so knowing that the language, that the math was alive, that it was a living thing instead of a dead thing on a piece of paper that I would have to use later for a job where some Caucasian person would be over top of me, or anyone, where I wouldn't be in control of my own faculties using this math, and somebody would be in control of me, instead of realizing that I was using a living thing, that numbers are living and that they have frequencies and vibrations. It meant a lot. It's a big difference.
Flowers have the greatest philosophy. Numbers, it just teaches us to how to be chronologically in order. Numbers are structured and it's infinite. You know, man takes numbers and play with them, sorcery and such. When we look at the numbers, we will get from who's the most curious people on the earth, and it's that which is doing the injustice, inequality, as we stand as a people. So when we look at the numbers, okay, so let's play with the numbers. You say numbers is a frequency and everything, but how does that help as a community? How does it help the black man and black woman get out of there what's going with numbers?
Well, numbers are a science, and in the same way that numbers have been used to capitalize and dominate and confuse, the black people. For instance, using the days of the week, okay? We're fed a calendar, but many of us don't even know what the days of the week mean. And that, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're connected to astrological frequencies. They're connected to planets. And that those are connected to numbers.
Okay. So So what I'm hearing from you, because anytime we get information, as so vast as, where did that come from? When we was in slavery, did we know about numbers? So now that we get it, that which control, because we're free to speak now. So people have said we're gonna play with numbers, but our conditions are the same. If the numbers can come in and help our condition, you know what I'm saying? Then so. But if the numbers doesn't add up, then what the hell do we need to know what the number? It doesn't do anything for us. Okay, so the number that's great. It's a frequency, X, Y, and Z. This is why we know who's teaching it and why. And why would we waste our energy and our frequency to know about numbers when we're in a serious crisis?
Well, okay, to answer that, yes, the numbers will tell who's using stuff and why. And that's why they have a spiritual energy attached to them. They're not just numbers, just like words are not just words. And to answer that question again, how it helps us is by knowing that if consciousness changes who we are as a people, as a living entity, like a lot of times I hear you say we. You don't think about much without saying we when it comes to the black people. You're like a unit. You're attached to this force of we, the black people. And instead of an I, you as an individual who can help affect black people. So as numbers, we're realizing the different dimensions of these numbers that helps to change the consciousness of us as a we. Because the more informed we are about numbers and what they can do for us, positive, and how they've been used in a counterproductive way, then we can turn it around through intention and use them in productive ways. Numbers are important.
Like what?
Okay.
It's crime. How can numbers help with crime?
How can numbers help with crime?
Because anytime that we look at information, the frequency level of black brothers being sent back and forth to jail. So the white man now got us confused about numbers. Okay, we can play the numbers. All you need to know is the numbers, and they come from 1 until infinite. Okay, how do we do it? We know we need numbers for systems. So people try to go with coincidence. Yes, the system of magic will say on this day and that day we're going to do a ritual. Everything that they do is on a ritual. Okay, on this day we're going to do a sacrifice. They use our black entertainers and our spiritual people to commit in what they do. So we can sit there all day worrying about numbers. Yet in the community, black men, black women is fighting. Don't know why. Because now the influence of that which oppresses us and dominates us keeps shooting out distractions, and playing with it. But remember, let's go back 60 years ago. This right here was never. This was never valid. And what's going on now? Is numbers important? Absolutely. But this is why biblically we don't recognize astrology, because it goes on. It's beyond our understanding.
Numbers are infinite, just like the rest of the stuff. That's the whole point. And numbers help bring us closer to the awareness of the things around us. It's used to measure the space around us. It's used to measure the things in the space that we're in. It's used to measure how long we've been in the space that we're in, that's around us. You know what I'm saying? How much is so numbers. If it could be used right, in that way, in those ways we use it as a positive way. But in those ways also, like censuses and stuff, trying to figure out how much money is needed in the community, or how much money we need to keep out of a community, you know what I'm saying, so that they don't, so that they're not successful. There's a ways that people can use numbers. So if they can use it to suppress, then we can use it. You see what I'm saying? If we have to be aware of how numbers are used to suppress us in order to turn that energy around, to be aware of how to use it as a means of to catapult us.
Yeah, but how long do one need to spend on numbers to project what's going? Can numbers get us out of our situation right now? If everybody say, okay, we're gonna go for numbers, okay.
Actually, yes. Okay, this is science.
So isn't it?
This is a 0.0, like a space of where everybody connects at one time. If everybody, like the example that you used, if everybody was to concentrate on how numbers could be beneficial to us as a whole at one time, then that singularity of us concentrating on numbers to get us to a positive space would get us out of the space, simply because we're all concentrating on numbers and how numbers could free us. Okay, so the weight of that,
you got to use an example like what?
Okay, it's a point of singularity. Okay. What I'm saying is that this is not about the numbers at all, as much as it's about the consciousness of concentrating on the numbers.
How does it?
And wait a second, this is embedding. Okay, on one hand you have the sheer numbers, everyone concentrating on one thing. So that's the thing, and that will cause a point of singularity in the consciousness field, because it's a collapse of everybody thinking about one thing. You see what I'm saying? In one direction.
Can numbers?
I just told you how.
That which baby?
For a question that you asked me like that, that would be my answer.
So, can you break it down a little bit more simple for people that don't understand? Because
now, for instance, you asked me that question: how can numbers help us as a black people? Mm-hmm. Many of us don't know the simple information that I shared today about censuses and how numbers, we don't contemplate on how something is used in a negative force can also be used as a positive one.
We have to understand.
Let me finish answering the question. So in a way for it to help us as a people, we will first have to concentrate on the many layers that it's used in a negative way against us. By concentrating and seeing, by exposing, this is consciousness, the way consciousness works, by shining a light on the way that is used in a counterproductive way, through our intention, the sheer numbers would change the energy around to a space where it was productive for us as a people. Because if everybody is concentrating, how can numbers, no matter how we use them, right? How can numbers help us to get to a positive space where we're being productive instead of counterproductive? If everybody was focusing on energy in that way, it would happen and cause a point of singularity, because we were all focusing on how numbers could help us in a positive way. So instead of negative.
So if you're saying numbers will bring us each to singularity, so because what I'm saying, because a lot of times we hear and we try to we try to regurgitate, and sometimes when we regurgitate people's stuff, we must get understanding. Okay, great, it's all great. We're saying, we're going to try to say that we're going to try to advance as a people. First of all, we must get some understanding when we're talking about frequencies and numbers and where do they come from, because everything that we do begins with origins. So if we go from the middle and move forward, we're missing a lot of information. Okay, number. So okay, X, Y, Z. You must go from the beginning before you do anything, because then where's the completion? Because when I asked you about numbers, you said the numbers are the frequencies and the singularity. Okay, that is from what I'm hearing, and if an audience is hearing it, it's going to be confusion. So you say, okay, astrology. Excuse my.
Right. That leads into numerology.
The
These
Bible.
are different systems.
Okay.
Numbers attached to all systems.
They are.
So if we're concentrating on numbers as a people,
1, 2, 3, 4.
we have a choice. Each individual has a choice to concentrate on whatever system they want to in regards to how numbers are attached to it. So they could do astrology, numerology, they could do senses, they could do a number of things with numbers. But the thing is that we're concentrating on what we could do in a positive way.
Right.
So the fact that everyone, you see what I'm saying, as a whole. Now 0 is 0.0. 0 is not nothing. 0 is everything. 0 is the space, like the color black, where everything emulates from, like a womb space. That's something that a lot of people don't know about numbers, is that they look at 0 like it's nothing, but 0 is not nothing. 0 is the space of everything, where everything comes from. It's like chaos. It's the blackness.
I definitely hear what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is, if you hear what I'm saying, right? What we need is that no matter what you're concentrating on, because numbers, there are many different systems where numbers can be applied and access things.
Right.
Okay? Even if it's to go into biology, where they have things, body parts coded. In doing numbers, all we would have to do as a people is be concentrating on being productive as opposed to counterproductive. You see what I'm saying? And that weight alone, because all of us are concentrating on something positive, would cause a point of singularity within that 0.0 space, and would collapse it, where, yes, we would change the world if all of us was concentrating. I'm trying to explain. I've explained it several times, but the concept is very difficult to understand. That's why I'm trying to, you got to go back to the 0.
All right, so wait a minute.
Okay.
If one want to play with, because what you're saying is not proven, evidence based.
It is.
Can I finish? From what I'm saying,
it's science. It is proven.
Science is just to know.
We need to know our math.
Right. All right. So let's go with science. Science is theory. What we say we know. We know now. So what happens is when one's on the side, we know science is. Why do I know? Because I want to find out. So now you want to be a scientist. Okay. So we experiment by doing what? Hypotheses, right? The hypothesis. Science, right? We must find out. You must research it to find out, right?
Yes.
The hypocrisy says in science, I get it right, and then I might change it, and then I take it over. How I do? I test it 7 different times to find out if it's based on things, right? So then it becomes a theory, and they say, well, it hasn't been proven yet. So this is why the number it goes on and on, because it hasn't been proven where to go. It's forever and ever and ever and ever.
Okay.
Does it help?
Right. Numbers are.
Let me finish first. Mm-hmm. So when you get the information, you won't hear too many brothers will speak on the numbers, but then they'll go into the mind to my actual bet and so on and so forth. When white people get it, they start going into they're going to their own philosophy, right? Because we know that when the Renaissance era came, right, and when the Europeans started to take over, they started to philosophize and change a whole lot of the truth. Is that true?
Yes.
They took one theory, said a theory, because a theory is not true. A theory is just an idea. There's nothing factual about a theory. It goes on and it'll change from culture to culture, from person to person. And yes, one individual could believe that that's what it is. But on the surface, when we look at us and our situation, we say, well, let's take some numbers and free us. The only thing that I see is only the laws. The laws will govern nothing before. If somebody said, well, numbers, I say, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But what does that have to do? It's nothing wrong with searching it and going through it, but you can't put, for me, and I struggle.
Numbers are absolute. Okay.
Yes,
now, our concept of the way that we look at numbers, can be warped. Like the way we look at the number 666, when it's carbon, atoms, and protons, we look at it like it's just the devil, but we don't know the story behind how they try to hold back the biology and how the churches are the prime suspect and what they teach us, in school and what's acceptable or when it comes to what's literate or not. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're hearing these numbers are universal and they're pure, like the Hebrew language, like the Iconian language. There's certain things that you can bend a person's concept of the way they look at it into one direction, but the other direction is still there. Numbers is one of those things. You see what I'm saying? Just like language. So by learning the language of numbers and seeing the many different ways and how it interacts with us.
That's true. I agree with you, but once
that's the way that it can help us as a people.
Because the numbers interact, it would help us. It can help. The numbers can help us as far as how much did I spend, and getting the concept of the numbers of adding and subtraction.
That's one dimension that we already be
on.
Well,
when I asked you that, but once again, do you understand? And what I'm saying is, you can be correct about that. What I'm saying is that won't get us out of our situation. To what I see, that's white man trickery to me. It's another way of white man giving us energy, talking about numbers and different numbers. And what that had to do with the girl just got shot down in Texas. Yeah, you know what, Kyle? How many numbers were there, the black brothers, and I always say the jungle brothers, that got together the concept or with the frequency. So and how we walk today for me is we learn. And we be able to utilize, because we can't fight it physically.
To learn, we have to allow ourselves to open ourselves up to new information, to more information.
I definitely do, yes. But I have to be careful on that, which is giving me information. I have to look at two things. I have to go back into slavery and look at slavery and look at that which had me captured. How did they have me captured?
Let's stick with the numbers, right?
Oh.
As far as spirituality is concerned, right? If somebody is one thing and I'm another, and this is the way I look at people who are religious, or spiritual, the spiritual energy. People come up to me and they tell me all the time about how they're this thing or that thing in regards to religion. They label themselves and they say, I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim or I'm a Buddhist. You know what I'm saying? Okay, fine. Then you want to share your information with me about how your spiritual entities, how your God, how your, the message of your God works through your religion and works through you, and you're sharing your religion and what you do and the laws and stuff and how they're transposed, like you said, the laws, right? Yeah. So we listen. And if I'm sure about myself, which I am, there's nothing that they can say to me to knock me off my square. You're not changing my mind. I'm open to see what I can add to my interpretation of what makes me me and what I hold in my heart that I define as the creator. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, numbers are one of those things that are given to us in order to define our world by our creator. Is that so? Do we have numbers in the Bible?
Numbers tell you exactly where to go.
Do we have in the beginning story of creation, the numbers in the days of the week is right there. Okay? So numbers are also a way that you can see. It's a way that our creator defines himself, expresses himself. Is it right? Okay? Numbers are a way that God, that our creator expresses himself and defines himself.
I think what the problem is, for what I follow the 1611 King James Version of the Bible. I follow no other philosophy. Can a philosophy help solidify what I'm saying? I don't go by man's vain philosophy. and I cannot go by that which put me and kept my oppressor. I
You can't
cannot
ask a question and then not let the information in. How can you ask a question, can a system help me further, but then at the same time say, I'm locking the system out because it's not saying what I already know?
Well, let's get some understanding.
That's not a space of learning.
The space.
And that's why I said, if you know what you know and you feel comfortable in your creator, then it shouldn't bother you when somebody else comes along and says, hey, I think like this, buddy. It's not going to bother you because you're safe where you are. You're sure about who you are. Then you straight. It don't matter what somebody else say. They could think that God is their big toe.
Well, let's get some understanding, and that's all cool. But you guess what you won't see get back, and let's do it further. They use the Hebrew Israelites, right? So people don't understand. There's many different Hebrewites. There's even white Hebrew Israelites. There's all kinds of people coming up into the knowledge of the truth, because there's two things. There's a truth and there's a lie. Is that a fact? Okay. So the truth is, for us, we have been oppressed physically. Is that a fact?
Yeah.
We are oppressed now through our minds. You say, well, how so? Because why would I go and keep spending my dollar and have my oppressors on it, but they don't spend no money with me? Let's just deal with that first. You can number that. How many times we have went into captivity? Those will use those numbers. How many times I'll continue to let you know the frequency of the number of how many times we continue to let you go. Let's go with the frequency of it. That frequency lets your vibration know, listen, I'm boiling over, because the temperature of the numbers is getting higher and higher, so it can't take no more. What the other people do is try to confuse you with that vain philosophy that adds nothing when we deal it inside the community. There's certain things by law is a way of life. I don't believe in religion. Every religion that you say, from the churches, beginning from the Renaissance era, it's about 7 different people. From Pentecostal, from Methodist, from Baptist, to Seventh-day Adventure, to Mormon. Each one of those have been started by our oppressor. You'll see a white man coming in the 1800s when these particular religious organizations was coming in. These are facts of what we know.
Numbers and math were around a lot way before religion.
We wasn't talking about that. The understanding was what we're dealing with right now.
We're talking about numerology and numbers, and how does that affect us as a people or in general?
The understanding is who's giving you the information, and once the information is given to you, you test it. Just like in the science is, we do the math. No, we know it's right here. So now let's do the science and go through the hypocrisy and test that. See the outcome. The outcome for us as a people, a nation of people, is not a good. We're on the lowest side. So the first shall come and the last shall come first. We're the last right now, but we know that we're the most powerful. However, we did not adhere to what was given to us. The structure for anything that move on, there's a law. That's why I say the law of nature. Yeah, the law of nature. But if we look at the law of nature, the Most High controls that. And he sends that down to move things like tsunamis and earthquakes and volcanoes. Who do they affect the most? The oppressed people doesn't seem to get affected the most by that, but we get affected in other things because we're not in the obedience of, once again, the law. With the numbers, everything is there for numbers, and to go and to know, find out about it, how you do it. You research it. That's the science. Find it out. Say, okay, now you test it. Good and evil. That's the law. But now that which oppresses us, you understand what I'm saying, could mean well. Start to say, well, I think this right here. And because psychologically we're not well, because we haven't got over the physical slavery, we just got loose maybe 100 years ago, started reading by the last 50 years because we was not allowed to read. Once we found out, then our minds like scattered all over the place, and the frequency is very high till we're like in an abyss somewhere, because we keep opening up portholes we have no business going through, and until we follow the law and not be lawless.
Okay, I'm a little confused. As I was listening to you, I realized something that we do, right? On one hand, who is the we that we're talking about that is going through portholes and stuff that we shouldn't be doing? If you are separating yourself from the white man and their sciences, then that's not a we, that's them. That would be the they, right? Because we're not doing that. We don't have the spaceships and the big budgets for sciences and stuff, labs and all that kind of stuff. We are basically working with what we came in with, some books. You know what I'm saying? bare minimum knowledge. We got, that would be like you ain't got no grease. Well, you got grease and water for your hair. You see what I'm saying? You ain't got no relaxers and straightening combs and you know what I'm saying? All these gizmos to make it do what it do. You got grease and water. We're working with bare minimum when it comes to sciences. They're the that's working with portholes and freaking machines and building quantum D-wave assurance and stuff like that. You know
physically, they have that. But spiritually, we have it. All we gotta do, if all we gotta do is just stop. For instance, all the numbers and frequencies. Okay, what does that have to do with them?
But wait, I wasn't finished with my question. When you're talking, right? Because I think that we do this a lot. We include ourselves and the movement forward in science, and the they, but the they is not us.
Well, let's
you know what I'm saying?
Let's get some
That's them, us. We don't even want to look at numbers and the way numbers affect our consciousness, and that numbers are alive and numbers are the beginning.
It's a part. It's not the main. You're trying to say the numbers is the foundation.
This conversation was basically, is one of the foundational things of this planet to define what it is we're going through is numbers. Numbers are a symbol. Yes.
We must get disciplined and some understanding. The understanding when we have your podcast, briefly.
Regina's Rabbit Hole, Siren
right,
Medicine.
Right. Because
speaking with wisdom.
I'd rather not be revealed. However,
if it's real, it will be revealed.
I lost the train of thought right there, and However, we're going to go ahead and resume. Okay?
Numbers.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let's get some understanding. When I speak, I'm only talking about what's going on in the condition of my people and what I've seen.
That's why I said what I said.
So
they are not us.
So what I'm saying to the understanding, because we don't get understanding, and I'll continue to say that because we be misunderstood by them because we don't want to have the understanding and we want to challenge each other. We're all going through the same. When I say all, the nation, the 12 nations are going through. It's seemingly the other 6 nations is on top. So we say the numbers, number 12, right? Biblically, those people fit that book to the T. Now, if someone
keep saying 12, but it's actually 13 because who's running it?
So what's again? This is misunderstanding right here.
But we don't like 13. We want to say 12 as if there wasn't a Jesus.
If you want,
where's Jesus?
If you want to say 12, you can.
It's 13.
The 12 in the Bible, it tells us quickly, do not add or curse. But we know what the person who miswrote the Bible, who wrote it, we know for fact they
Shakespearean
were black people. They were all blacks.
All right.
Let's get some more.
All right. Now who was it said that helped to orchestrate the Bible?
It was the prophets. It was 47 different Hebrew scholars who was authorized by King James, who was a black man, who was the ruler of Scotland, England, and there was one more. He was the ruler of that. Right. And when he went down 16, and then he had a problem with a white dude. I can't remember his name, but you can look it up. Who then came and after he passed away said he was a homosexual.
I remember that history.
Okay, so we know for a fact when we go back from 193 all the way up into the 1600s. That we rule. Black people rule for 1,000 years, and 1,000 years of history has been taken out. So we think that the Vikings, we think that Shakespeare and all of them.
Okay, so that was part of our. We were those melanated people, right, and then rewrite and then doing stuff.
What I'm saying
as well.
Well, we know everything has to change because when we talk about evolve, we know the language evolves because we change and the language change. So when people talk about the language, which is when you say tongue, it's your language always change. So if language change, the wording is going to change.
Well, there was a time when we had an internal war and a power struggle in regards to the Moorish and Muslim Asiatic Black history, and some of us started working with the Europeans. You see it in them paintings and stuff with George Washington crossing the Delaware and some of the Moors in the background. You know what I'm saying? As if to say, we in the background.
You're tripping now. See, this is what's going on with our people. See, whatever I'm saying, and we have to get some understanding. If somebody want to go back and Google
what I'm saying that for is like we need to distinguish between the they
When
and
I say
us. We don't want to be the they, but the they was us too. And so when we're talking about sciences, and I hear you say
they would mean listen. Let's get some understanding before we go
I
again.
hear
So
you say us
it.
when the us
Let
is
me not
like
revisit
where are
it.
we're defining
we have to
defining
let's
that?
get some understanding again. I'll continue to say throughout the whole. I only can attest to a black book that the 2/3 will not accept, and the 1/3 are feeling their way in. Those are the one potentially will have to get the understanding, and it's coming closer to that. So what happens is the trick right now is that which has always tricked us. Because when we say the devil, it only means that was trickery, thievery. We know that what on this land right now, we came and conquered and stealed it and changed our minds. They colonized us. We know that. So if we know that right there, wouldn't we be careful, you know what I'm saying, if they start feeding us information and we start eternalizing it and putting it into our spirit? I can accept my jungle brothers, and I'll put myself in there when they come with something. But now you get the understanding of the jungle brothers. What do they want? They want to be vain, what they want after that? They want some pussy. That's why they say I can have anything that I want. Because after they finish doing what they're doing, they cannot control the lustful spirit in us. And our black women are hurting. Physically, spiritually, mentally, because they're emotional creatures. Well, most of the time, you cannot find a real successful black man without that strong woman, not fighting the woman, but building.
I got an answer for how numbers can be helpful in this situation. Numerology tells a lot about people. It attaches to people's astrology. It attaches that directly. That's our ancient sciences to people's personality, their character. And so, right, you would have to read those ancient systems and stuff like that.
Can you give some kind of background?
If you so choose.
One of the jungle that can back it up? Because when I come, I'm going to come with some form of scripture to back up what I'm saying, facts. This is what we're talking about. Most of the time when you see those particular strangers, they talk all this blah, 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 and then you start backing up with facts and go back into ideology.
Actually, the book of symbology, okay? The geometrica, the tree of life. There's many of things that can attach you to numerology.
Numerology, once again, biblically, we will not recognize. We know it exists, but we would say it comes from dark matter. We need not to mess with it because it lacks your faith. That means that for me, I have to understand that if I'm not obeying this law, then I'm on the other side of everybody else. But I'm admitting that. Because the fact is, did you lie today? No, I ain't lie. But you know you tell a lie. But now you're going to go try to feed your people. That means that you're feeding your people lies. Even though it's the truth, it could have some truth in it. You're not genuine in your delivery. And so when like women, like for me, I think right now, men should start fucking. And women should stop having babies. And until the fighting start as it is right now, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We should start to get some understanding on the fact. If you believe in numbers and everything, then your numbers, go get a community, get 10 people and feed your numbers and do it for a year and see how can you prosper financially. Because everything you know you're supposed to prosper from.
Well, the initial question was, how can numbers help us as a community all at once? That's how the question ended up going into that. And individually, numbers can help. They give a lot of information. We don't do anything without numbers, okay? And like I said, even the Bible is based on numbers. When you add the creation story, and then you have a book called Numbers. It's a part.
No, it's not a book. It's like Deuteronomy. Well, it's a letter. Those are letters, manuscripts.
Come on now. Now you're all right.
Okay. Well, actually, mentioned, but
that's logistics. But you know what I'm saying is that numbers can be helpful and beneficial to us as a community. Period.
Is the Bible not
it
the
needs
most
to be developed upon, and it goes into other areas and aspects, and there are many dimensions to numbers. Many of us choose not to go in, as you already stated, due to your religion. You're supposed to stay away from that stuff. Okay.
What you mean?
Duty, the book. You said you're supposed to stay away from numerology, right?
No. You study everything, and if a person like
you're supposed to stay away from that. But you
say
you don't do religion, but that's religion.
Well, let me give you some clear understanding of how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to be able to be well learned in many different areas, you know. But what I have my faith and I believe in is the Bible 100%. Why? Because it exposes the truth. You cannot go and do what you want to do and not be held. Then call on, just like the Muslim calling Allah. Look at Farrakhan. When the Muslim religion first started off, where was it? It was anti. You know what I'm saying? It was about brotherhood, getting the brothers out of jail, off the streets, build up a nation, and get our own city of our own, and we don't need no help from them, so we can build for ourselves. That changed now. It included everybody. Everybody's included them now. They feed the palm. You get the one feed the palm. Just like you, highly intelligent, to go and do what you want to do, but you're scattered because what one thing
I don't have anyone helping me to organize what it is that I need to do. And we're still
can I blame
developing?
Right, absolutely, and that's what you have to do. And like you say, well, can't go do it. I don't really want to do it because I'm scattered. Once I can just focus, you know what I'm saying, and then put the blinders on like a horse, so a horse can go straight. But he's eyes so big.
I know exactly what it is that I need to do. Yeah.
Can I
okay. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, and I'm just giving an example.
Right. I just want to make it clear that I'm not scattered. But just go ahead.
We're all scattered.
Okay.
Because if I can go to a black people and ask them 100 different things of who you are, and they don't have the knowledge of truth. So you'll say, I'm a Moor, I'm a free, I'm a this, I'm a me. You know what I'm saying? But if you go to the nation people, they say, I'm for everybody. They go back 10,000 years ago. They go back and have pictures and everything can go back to Chinese, the Asian, all the Asians, all the Polish, you understand what I'm saying? And they're dealing with numbers. You understand what I'm saying? When you come to us, we're scattered and we don't want to admit it. You know what I'm saying? But the outcome, if someone is doing something that's so great, then bring it to the community, feed the community without getting their hands dirty. You understand what I'm saying?
I heard you.
You know? We get distracted over things and we get forgetful because we're really trying to get out. Because all we go through, we still smile. It reminds me of the movie of The Grinch that stole Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. And he stole all the Christmas, everything, right? Even the tree. Not even a cheese, not even a mouse. He took everything, not even a crumb, right? What did those people do? They all were smiling and singing. And it touched his heart, right? And he gave all the gifts back. And I'm just using that. That's us. If we see, people don't even want to see the atrocities that was going on. We just see a white man shoot a black girl down. Nobody, just talking. This using words. We know that if you keep using words and spelling it, it becomes our imagination.
And hence the numbers that are attached to words and that are a part of our creative consciousness, okay? Mm-hmm. They are a part of the way that we look at the world. For instance, minority, mm-hmm. okay? That word and the way that it did in our minds, where the world is mostly full of melanated people. However, we're mm-hmm. called a minority. And because of the word, okay, it did something in the brain, right? Mm-hmm. So that's part of one of the dimensions that numbers, you know what I'm saying, and these symbols can do to us. And just by being aware of that changes mm-hmm. the way that we look at ourselves. We're mm-hmm. not a minority. And so then you start to look at, okay, well, why would they say that? That mm-hmm. leads into a whole nother mystery of words and numbers, of dates and mm-hmm. things that happen to us. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so if we were all concentrating in that direction toward how can numbers be helpful, mm-hmm. universal law says if we're all concentrating on how we can be helpful, oh man, we already did the thing. Because we're not concentrating on how we can be mayhem or problematic. Mm-hmm. If we're all concentrating into one system on how we can be helpful. Not everybody in math and reading and colors. We said, everybody is in math trying to figure out how to be helpful. Mm-hmm. Well, and many different aspects and how that breaks down.
Absolutely.
The universal weight of that would change the consciousness where we would all freaking just break free. Because we would all be concentrating on how to be the solution.
Well, I have to agree and disagree. We won't break free until we are free. So we be trying to hurdle over the obstacles that are put before us. If we're mindful not to get in that which we see. If you tie me up and bound me for a minute and abuse the hell out of me and then let me go, you know what I'm saying? I got two things. Either fear I'll stay there with you, or I'm going to run like hell.
You have to study You have to study the universal laws and the weight of consciousness and stuff.
I don't have to do that because I'm saying
it goes with prayer.
Well, what I'm saying to you is my universe. All that you're saying is in my little black book. You know why? It brings me back to the rules that I can't do. Because if you break the law and lie, and I'll use it for an example, you got your soil out there, right? And every time I keep putting something out there to mess up, you ask me, I do. I say no, but yet I'm still doing. You broke the law. You broke the universal law. You lie. The universal law goes the same as anything else. If you lie, you're breaking the universal law, because then you can start violating the land. So he keeps about universal law. See, the white man come with his tricks. That's what he's doing. His philosophy. People all over the world see it differently than us. And you know what? And I can tell you, someone on my job, he's very accurate. You know what they quote? They quote numbers. This is what you're talking about. And I have to agree to that point, because they go, oh, the rule state and number and this right here, you ain't supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. Oh, and they say, see, and then at first I didn't. I was like, but they quoted the numbers in order. The brother today, we see in the video, he said 3201 through stay stiff.
The law.
Numbers, they are powerful if used correctly. So that's what you didn't say. I was holding that back. That's what the Most High, my most creator, was able to reveal, that numbers are important, but that's just a piece to understand why we're in the situation. So yes, it is a problem. Most people that know math, very, very smart.
Well, that was a different dimension of it, on how he used, he quoted a law, a ordinance. Right, so that when the cop stopped him, he was being stopped for being suspicious, but he didn't create any crime, right? And he was at his own property. Yes, that's another way that numbers can help toward what he did was he used his being able to category the statute to free himself when he got into certain situations. That's another dimension of numbers, but that's more like within the legal system. That's already,
it doesn't make a difference.
Right, right. I know that. That's one dimension, but that's one dimension.
Yes, rabbit hole.
No, it's not a rabbit hole. People need to do that. We need to learn the laws and stuff like that.
Station.
Regina's rabbit hole. No, we need to learn the laws and stuff. But I was thinking more so along the lines on how numbers help me personally.
Okay, so say that then, because you told me.
I did.
But the thing about it, we deal with individualism, and you cannot do that. We must become together. Let me tell you something about the other folks that I see and I witnessed for my years on the earth here. They might have a different thing, but when they come down, it's like the McCalls and Hatfields. They have to put the weapons down and go take care of this right here. And when they handle that business, you on my land, and let's get them, boom, boom, boom. They go right back to their food again.
I don't think
and so. Can I finish?
Yes.
So what I'm saying to you, like your frequency level, when I talk to you, you get discombobulated. Like it throws you totally off because you don't agree. And I don't agree. And this is the problem that goes on in a household. And so you know what, let's just deal with the truth. Now, what is the truth? Let's just write it down. Did you do this today? Did you do that? And the laws. Why we don't have the laws, 10 laws, biblical laws right there. Lie, steal, sexual misconduct. Did you love your brother? People don't know who their brother and the creator. What does it say? And at the end of the day, it'll make one mind, if it follow that for 30 days straight, will change their whole life. That's a fact. How do we know? Because we see these little young brothers that everybody hate. And just like we know Yahweh, you know what I'm saying, Jesus, and he want to play with the J, they ain't nothing but tricking the enemy. Right now it's Jesus. So boom, okay. You know what I'm saying? That's because he said, hollow will be thy name. Empty, hollow. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that we play a lot of games for entertainment and to build to stabilize the mental health condition that's going on with the people of Israel. That's what I see. A lot of mental health issues going on, a lot of games, like you sit down, play notorious games, singing and dancing and playing the game. And yet when we see a black woman get shoot down, you know what I'm saying, and nobody moves. So I want to see how many people are going to move. Did I move? I'm in the category of myself. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing I say, I deal with truth, and it pertains to me too. Go ahead, Regina.
That's all about being informed, And there's more to meets the eye with that story about the black woman that was shot in the projects over there in Texas. That recently they said she was pregnant. She wasn't. There was a time period where they didn't have the body for a minute, and now they're going to do the autopsy and all this mysterious stuff. Yeah, that's a whole story. I believe that she was a targeted individual, but that's outside of what we were speaking about. And in regards to the way that we vibrate and us as a unit, we could take one person, right? And I can change myself as an individual and hope that when I get in the group, that I vibe different, right? That I become the medicine, that I'm the change that I want to see. Right. Or I could sit there trying to get everybody in the group to do specific things, right? And until we get those things done, we can't move. And so we're all nitpicking each other. Did you lie today? Did you steal today? Did you do this today? And that's why I'm saying, wait, consciousness works. I didn't say there was something wrong with it. I'm pointing out the difference in the way that I'm looking at this. On one hand, you have that where you individualize things and you do it by law. Okay, but what I'm speaking of is consciousness, and as a group in regards to numbers as a whole. Everybody just all they have to do is be concentrated toward, all right, we already know we're not going to get this right. That we're going to end up lying and cheating and stealing because we got issues. The goal is to realize this and to dislodge these things on the way to being the change you want to see and the hope that you want to be. In a mutually beneficial, positive directions as a whole. So the only rule is you need to be headed toward being helpful, being useful, and getting rid of that shit. Not that you're going to be perfect while you're doing it. Okay? So that's the only thing that's being judged is you better be headed toward a direction where you're getting better. Period. Right? You're doing something useful. What are you doing to contribute? Period. Right? And the rest will unfold. So as a people, we will be better. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying as far as consciousness and looking at numbers as a whole.
Do you believe that one should have, like we do a physical detox, right? Be careful what you put back in once you do the physical detox.
The awareness, yes. And then,
do you think that we should do a mental, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Detox? And after that, a spiritual detox, which meaning test it and see, you know what I'm saying, does it work like it's supposed to?
Right now, I believe that that's happening with us as a people. Everybody is acknowledging something in their life that needs changing and reflecting on it.
But one must be, as I say, it's a household must be in one unit. I can say, for the most part, household been in one unit because it doesn't go outside as far as we raising our children up. You understand what I'm saying? Like if someone looks at our children now, you start talking, you're not going to get but so much unless they know you. Like they're not going to just trust anybody. You understand what I'm saying to you? Wherever they trust, they're going to be safe. You understand what I'm saying? Because as soon as somebody try to violate them, they're not going to have it. One must, to me, that's why I said black men should stop having sex until you have been trained. You understand what I'm saying? You train now to use the most strong thing to create that great seed. So you just pound and pound and pound as much as you can until it's a wrap. You violate our women, you make them whores by you doing that. Because when you have sex with that woman, biblically, that's your wife. That's why when two get in there and shit, it goes deep. So for me, I wish I can train the first thing. Don't violate the woman. You ain't gonna marry her, you no good. Don't do it. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think that the way that we mate with each other needs to be changed.
Right, so
we need to reevaluate the way that that's done.
Right, but I said it in a short synopsis that you should not, if you don't mean that woman no good, because what happened is you might make an unwanted baby, bring forth diseases, you know what I'm saying, or these other lustful things that are going on with the whole works. And
in the ancient days and stuff, there were people who we don't have the woman or the elders there, the men and women there who were making the couplings, you know what I'm saying? Who saw the youth. They've been watching the youth in the community. They knew the birth dates. Part of the sciences was numerology. Yeah. Okay. And they saw when these it is true. This is part of our ancient sciences of breeding that we no longer have. You would have to have seen.
They were lawless.
Okay, that's according to.
No, they were law. They were sacrificing. Because when you say you have to understand.
What we're talking about, Ken, is separating the difference between the sciences that were needed to keep our people in order and happy, Okay, where we're unevenly yoked now. We just go meet
Why?
each other in the bar, meet each other at excuse me.
It's sexual behavior.
Let me finish what I want to say. Okay? We meet each other at institutions that mean us they don't mean us well most of the time, like colleges and school. Okay? We meet each other at work, and that's not an institution that means us well, okay? Most of the time.
Right.
All right? We're meeting each other at church, and they don't have couplings and stuff like that. And even people that you hear about that have arranged marriages and stuff overseas, a lot of times I'm hearing it be based on money. But in my research, in our ancient days, even though religion causes skeptical.
What time period?
Okay, excuse me.
I don't know. I'm talking to the time
all right.
period.
The time period,
Yeah.
I would have to go get my book, and I don't have it right now.
Well, maybe
Before Christ, okay? There was a time when women were the healers in the communities and stuff like that, and we had more of a tribal type atmosphere.
Right.
And we knew about the coming and goings of planets and times and seasons and stuff.
Nah, I don't
we
know
went
about
by.
that.
Okay,
That's right.
I do. Let me speak for myself.
What's
okay.
the facts though? What's the research?
Excuse me, Ken. I didn't.
Excuse me. You gotta have facts,
excuse
though.
me.
Right.
I didn't ask you for any dates when you were talking, and I believe that because you're in disagreement with what I'm speaking about, you want dates and
Likewise.
stuff. Excuse me.
It's likewise.
In the future, I will get dates. If you give me a minute, I'll get my book. Okay. And I'll get dates. But excuse me to keep what I'm saying. And to finish, a matter of fact, we could do another one and we come up with some dates and stuff with the matriarch and stuff like that.
Yep.
But for right now, okay?
Yes.
What I want to say is that there was a time when we as a people...
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
There was a time when we as a people would couple ourselves better, our children.
Because you're well studied.
Yes, I am.
Yes. And we're both well studied, and I don't want to disrespect what what your theories are and everything. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. And so before all this European stuff started, okay, where our history was washed away, we were more mindful about putting each other together. It was an art. It was sacred. Mating was sacred, and there were different things that we had.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
On the mating part. Were we disciplined when we were mating?
Yes, very. Okay. We had sacred sexual arts and stuff. Right.
That's nobody pimping one man trying.
No,
it wasn't none of that.
Well,
rape and
it wasn't
molestation.
looked at sex and touching and healing.
They would kill you, right?
Sexual art. It was looked at differently. There was a time when sex was looked at differently. We didn't have the same rules and concepts about touching and sexuality that we have now.
Wasn't it more for creating to be great and beautiful, more or less just having it, just to have it, because we have no control? Well,
it was valued.
Right. So the value was come to child that would grow up to be great and help the people to heal and keep the peace, right?
Yes. Well, all right. It's like if you have a community and there's things that you want within the community, right, and you know that according to an astrological combination, that energy is going to come down from the sky. And if you have two couples willing to mate and one is fertile, that energy is going to pop into that ba,
right,
that her stomach. Right. Okay, and put a spirit in her stomach. The ba and the ka is the spirit in the vehicle.
What I'm saying,
then that's what I'm saying. I'm answering your question. These are the sciences that we knew of that time. We also knew yogas and breathing exercises where the men would take care of their lingams, their penis. They would stretch them and do breathing exercises and prevent themselves from ejaculating.
But they didn't ejaculate. They held their old gods at that time. Correct. They wasn't serving biblical, because what I'm saying to you is I'm based biblical. You're not, and I'm trying to understand. So, but
actually, that's a whole nother subject. I am biblically based. Okay, I'm also spiritually based. But I'm spiritually based before I'm biblically based, because I'm aware of what they did to make changes and stuff within that system.
So I respect that.
Okay.
Because in talking, you don't really let me explain where I'm at. I don't budge because I'm held accountable for it. And because you give it. What I'm saying to you is I respect what you're saying. But most of the time, when we speak to our people about the atrocities that will happen, they want to go into a whole vain imagination from our. That's why I say, where are the origins from this shit?
There needs to be more tolerance for the different systems and different.
You interrupt me again when you was talking for a serious period of time, and I heard you. But when I talk, you shiny, I'm like, come on. I'm respectfully listening to you as the audience is hearing. You feel me? Does it make sense? Just like the Jungle Brother. I'm a Jungle Brother. I say the Jungle Book, and that's what we are.
I think we're losing the point.
Why? Because now I deal with truth.
What truth?
My
what
truth.
are you trying to say?
So what I'm saying is, I come from a biblical. You come from a metaphysical or spiritual. I base biblical first. How I go in, I pull a scripture to add what's going on right now and today. Spiritually it says no. So metaphysics go into astral projection, all this. That's cool in the game. Astral that can get us out of the situation, please. Our women in power, please get us out. If not, we have to go biblical and take the ass whooping for our ancestors that caused us to get in this mess first. Yes, there were ancestors that were definitely doing what they telling the people, just like I'm saying, talking today, and you're talking today, because you said numbers, I said the laws, and you said numbers. If you say anything, I'm going to say law, because we under the law right now, aren't we?
There's universal law.
But that pertains to all law.
I think that, some of the people who are claiming to be biblically based are very funny when they're starting a statement that, since you black women want to speak up now, get us out of this trouble. But yet, y'all don't want to move out of the way and allow us to do that. There is such resistance with allowing...
It doesn't make a difference.
Excuse me. There is such resistance with allowing women to be able to speak. And there are so many different layers to this ish that we're speaking of, or the sacredness.
Are we doing the truth now?
There's different parts. Always.
Are we doing truth?
Always.
Okay.
And there's different layers and parts, and if someone else doesn't understand that, and we're dealing with the norm, which is biblical,
yes,
okay, and we want to bring in the abstract, we want to bring in the I don't want to say metaphysical, but yes, how
just something other.
For instance, without getting into a whole big thing, I'm trying to answer this.
Isn't it a big thing anyway?
For instance, the Bible is talking about an awakening and a Kundalini experience, and that it's layered, it's abstract. It's speaking to people, to different types of people on many different levels.
The Kundalini is 7 chakras, right?
Excuse me?
It's 7 chakras, right? It's the Kundalini. We'll base the Kundalini out
right,
of
going
the
up to 7 chakras, right? Or the tree of life, okay?
Because that's why it's based on the numerology with the numbers.
That could also, all right, if you track that according to synchronicity and astrology, okay, turns from being actual people that are depicted as biblical into abstract things and experiences that you can also track and see how they turn into the prophets and all those kinds of things, and the Last Supper and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but when I think
that gets into the metaphysical.
This is what I think.
But wait a second, let me finish answering.
You've been talking for a
No,
while.
you don't this time.
I'm gonna
but because I don't care what you do.
No,
I'm going to answer this, and then I'll be finished.
Clock.
Excuse me. Your tactics are tiring.
What do you mean?
I want to answer this.
I'm going to have a stop clock.
Excuse me. I was trying to answer what I'm saying. That's what the rudeness, Because we're not allowed to take the time to answer what it is, to answer the question. Other people were feeling intimidated. All the different stuff that you be doing, trying to get me to read stuff while I'm in mid-sentence.
So other people are your husband.
And then you're saying stuff catering to the audience that's not even here at the moment. We're not live.
Am I your husband?
What does that have to do with me explaining the many layers as a person, as a human being? You ask me a question. I'm trying to explain and say, okay, well, it's not that simple. There's many different layers to this, and let me explain them intellectually. but that's not respected. So how are women supposed to get up and take over and do the thing if men will not relax and allow her to do so? It's not just biblical. There's many layers to this. Allow us to show the many layers.
You're absolutely right. However, when you do a takeover, you don't ask nobody shit. You just give them do that shit.
Then we're disrespectful. Nobody's trying to take over anything.
It's a spiritual. We're fighting. There's no physical war because we know that. So it's a mind war.
Right.
Right? So when we say, I'm black woman in front, so you're in front, we got your back. Go do it. Fuck, you're doing it anyway. It doesn't make it. We deal with truth. Men and women today don't deal with truth. As soon as you say that shit, they shut that shit down and go into their mind. Oh, we're gonna go over here. That's why the Bible tells you better not do this. If you do, this is what's gonna happen. Facts.
The Bible says a lot of things.
But we're talking about. I just said it does say a lot of things.
It tells a slave to be submissive.
Not
to
at all. Never
master.
told. It never told.
There
you
are
that.
parts of the Bible that
you're
do.
not submissive to your master right now. Don't pay the rent, don't pay the gas, don't work. Your ass will be homeless in the street. We're submissive to a system right now, so we're not talking about whatever. If you're paying taxes, you are submissive.
If people realize the deeper master within them is their own freaking intention,
we're not talking about that though. We're talking about
okay.
physical. We're talking about physical.
It is physical.
We don't even sit together.
And we're outside of numbers. Let's end this one, and then we'll do another one. Okay, with the dates that you were talking about.
Once again, this is the power. Regina's rabbit hole.
Siren Buddha medicine.
Physical husband, spiritual. I'm not your husband, right?
We're unevenly yoked and have
there you
many
go.
problems.
She said it right there.
Yes.
And not this household, but all households.
If I had the economics to be separate, I would respectfully.
If you go into wherever you go to, your creator supposed to give it to you. If you don't,
I would spend my time studying.
That's what you do, though.
I do.
I work. You study.
I study all day.
That's
every day.
So now we should be able to go. You should be able to help the people. You blaming me?
That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Help the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is Regina's Rabbit Hole, Siren Buddha Medicine.
And this is me.
Speaking with wisdom.
Love it, Israel.
Much love to you and yours. I'm out. Keeping it real.
Yes,
What's
sir.
your life look like? What?
Show you right.